Character, the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. On today's episode, which happens to be the first episode in 2023 on musical epics with Shari, I decided to remind you about one of God's many characters. Let's get into it. Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere. Hey y'all. Welcome back to Musical Epics with Shari. My name is Sharon Bodua Bodua. You can call me Shari if you love what I do. I'm so thankful that you decided to take time off and spend some quality time with me. Thank you so much for sticking with me in 2022 and welcome to 2023. Happy New Year, y'all. This episode is going to be the very first episode in 2023 and I hope, oh my God, I pray and hope that we stay consistent and we kill it. So, thank you guys for tuning in. If this is your first time listening, hello, hi, welcome to the family, my very small but very supportive family. Um, Please don't forget to like the episodes, share and subscribe. And if you can, please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts because it helps push the podcast and make it visible for other people to find it and also listen. If this is not the first time you're hearing my voice and you're a returning listener, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in again. You're the real MVP. I cannot be appreciative of you enough. Thank you. So on today's episode, honestly, I was wondering what I was gonna do for January because like it's a new year, and obviously when the new year starts, you're trying to put things together and start the new year on a good note. So yeah, evaluating 2022 like the last year, yeah, considering what goals you should put down and what you have to do in order to let the goals be successful. So I was wondering what can I talk about on this podcast that would kind of tie in the mood for January? Like when you go on social media, everybody is just talking about goals, set your goals, blah, blah, blah. Churches are doing fasting and prayers to kind of lead people into committing the year into God's hands. So I was like, what can I talk about that would tie everything in together? And at the latter part of last year, I heard this song. I know the song existed, right? I had mentioned the whole album on Epic News in one of my episodes, so I knew the album existed. I just had not actually listened to a single on that album. And during the latter part of last year, thanks to Spotify, I heard the song and I was like, why haven't I heard this song long time? Why is this song not my new favorite? I heard the song and I instantly loved it. And I posted on my WhatsApp status that a song that we really slept on in 2022 was this song that I'm about to introduce to you guys. So immediately I heard the song, I knew that this was a song that's gonna carry us in 2023. So I'm really excited to introduce to you a song that we'll be using for today's episode. If today is your first time listening and you're wondering why does she keep talking about songs, like where is she going with it? Well, on this episode, every single topic that we discuss here is centered around a song. So we use the lyrical content of gospel music to talk about real life issues and try and see if we can find like inspiration, lessons, motivation, solutions, answers to the real life issues that we face. Because I believe that most of the gospel songs that come out are honestly inspired by reality. And if we just focus on how good the lyrics are, or like how the lyrics rhyme, or the beat, or the artist or the singer singing the song, we take away the real essence of what the song is supposed to do for us. It's not just about like dancing to a good beat or putting lyrics that rhyme together into the song, but it's the message that the song carries. And I know that music is food to the soul, and whatever you feed your soul and whatever you feed on is what you become at the end of the day. So there's power in music. So the whole point of this podcast is to just draw your attention to the fact that there's power in music, that there's actual effect on your life from the things that you listen to constantly. And so, just to give you an inspiration and understanding when you listen to some of these gospel songs, so that it won't just be about who is this popular singer that sang it, so I'm gonna listen, or who the beat is really good, but it would be about what message does this song carries, and how is it affecting me and affecting my life. So this is for the like the new people who are listening to the podcast for the first time. So on today's episode, the song that we'll be discussing is called You Remain and is by Todd Galberth featuring Chandler Moore. You guys, like I have so many I have literally like 90% of the songs I discuss here are either from Chandler Moore, Jonathan McReynolds, or Maverick City. If you guys want me to change and give you like variety in playlist, you have to email me or like DM me on Instagram and send me the song that you like so I talk about it. If not, oh yeah, because that's just my playlist 24/7. Anyway, the song was released in 2022 and is part of it's a single on album Encounter, which is Todd Galberth's album. And it was written by Aaron Lindsay and Israel Houghton. Oh, today's the first time I've gotten this name correct. Yes. If you know, you know. So I'm gonna just quickly stop rambling and jump into the first verse of the song. So the first verse of the song says, and I quote, I have seen a lot of things and have been to a lot of places. I've seen people come and go. I've been through a lot of changes. One thing I can always say, you've been here every step of the way. So in this first verse, the line that I really, really relate to is the part that says, I've seen people come and go. I've been through a lot of changes. Obviously, if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, I've told you how I don't do well with relationships. And, I've just said it here and there. So, and if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know I've been through quite a number of changes. Well, it's not quite a number, it's just that it's not a lot, but it's huge. Like there are actual significant changes. So I can relate to that. And what quote comes to my mind when I hear that is a quote that says that change is the only constant thing in our world. So when it comes to people coming and going, oh my days, I have had a lot of experience when it comes to people just coming into your life, and after some time they are not in your life again. Like, it's actually strange and weird for me when I think about it. So I try not to think about it a lot, because I'm like, how is it that we were so cool and just texting each other, just talking and hanging out and having fun? And then after a few incidents, um, I don't even have your number. I don't have your number. I don't follow you on any social media platform. I hear bits and pieces about you and I'm like, okay. Like how is it that we were this close in one season and now we just don't have anything in common anymore, and we don't do nothing together, and we just don't see or talk to each other anymore. And it's very, very weird for me. But I've had a lot of experiences with that. I remember I had a group of friends. I thought, oh my days, these guys are my circle. They are like my closest friend. I would do anything for them, although I didn't have anything. I would do anything for them. I would tell them anything, like it got to some point with those friends. I was like, I don't even want to lie to you anymore because that's how important I feel you are to me. So if you ask me something and I don't want to say it, I'm just going to say I'm not going to say it instead of lying, because I feel like you're a very important part of my life and I don't want to lie to you. Like, that's how deep I thought the friendship was. But apparently we were not on the same page. Like, I thought they were my circle. They thought I don't know what they thought, but like from the look of things and from my perspective, they thought I was just like any other person. And like now, the people that I thought were my circle, I don't even talk to them anymore, you know? And it's very weird. So like I can really relate to that line. And then I also recall that there are people, there were, I don't know if there are any right now because I haven't made that evaluation yet, but there were people in my life that I did anything just to get their approval and get their attention. Listen, I bended my morals, bended my values, bended my principles just to get this person to look at. And it's so sick. Like right now, when I think about it, I don't even talk to those people on a regular basis. I don't even talk to them at all. So, what was it back then that came to possess me to do all of that just to get them to look at me? Times and seasons, they change, you know? I can never understand that, honestly. But I guess like that's how life is. So, yeah. And then the second part of that line says I've been through a lot of changes. Like I was saying, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I've been through quite a number of changes. The major one being moving countries. And that's a change that's also really weird because maybe I'll make like a whole episode and talk about how moving to UK has been like for me, but it's really weird and I don't even think I've had time to process the whole thing yet. But yeah, that's a really like a major change, like changing culture, changing food, changing friends, changing people, even changes like educational level. That's not easy. I moved from undergrad to masters. Yo, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Sometimes I look at my assignments. I'm like, who in heaven told me to come back to school? I listen. Anyway, so yeah, that's like a major, major, major change. And so I can really relate to that line. And it goes on to say, one thing I can always say, you've been here every step of the way. The you being good. And it takes me back to the quote that I said earlier that says, change is the only constant thing in our world. I'm going to take it a step further and say, God is also the only constant thing in our world. And yeah, he's been there and I'm gonna talk about it a lot more like in subsequent like yeah. So let's just move on to verse 2, okay? Let's just move on to verse 2. And verse 2 says, I've heard a lot of words and no see, sorry. It says I've heard a lot said and sometimes believe the wrong things. I've made choices I regret and I've doubted your mercy. One thing I can always say, you've been here every step of the way. Ooh, so when I hear that verse, the thing that immediately comes to my head was the promise I made to God around like May-ish 2022 when I decided to no, not 2022, May 2020, I think, when I decided to actually be serious with this thing called Christianity. Yo, let's just put a pen here. I've been a Christian my whole life. My dad is a pastor. I was born into the church, okay? And I just decided to be serious with Christianity in 2021. Ah, that is so sick. Anyway, so during that time, I made a promise to God and I told God that I'm not gonna promise you that I'm gonna be a good girl because I feel like that takes time. You know, I would have to mature into the point where I don't sin anymore. Like I just don't sin. But what's that now? Like there's so many patterns and so many behaviors that I have to break, and that's gonna take time. So I'm not gonna promise you that I'm gonna be a good girl and not sin. But what I am gonna promise you is that no matter how far I go, no matter how deep I sink, and no matter how long I stay in my own field, I am always, always gonna come back to you. That was the promise I promised God. And listen, when I tell you, because of how sincere that promise was, it has literally carried me since then till now because I do a lot of stupid stuff. And I am very emotional and sometimes even impulsive. And so, listen, I make the wrong decisions and I honestly and because of how like emotional I am and how I'm like always seeking people's I won't say people's validation, but I kind of like, I'm always looking out for people's attention, you know? Like, I want to know that you care about me. I want to know that you're concerned about me. Because when I like somebody, or like, I like, not like in a, not just the opposite sex, like every gender, right? When I like you, like I'm interested in your stuff and like what you do and what I can do to help you, whether it's encouraging words or being supportive or whatever it is. Like I'm interested. I want to talk to you. I want to know how your day went and stuff like that. So I'm always like expecting people to also reciprocate that to me. And so, because of that, and coupled with the fact that I'm very emotional, I take what people say to heart. I remember, oh my days. Well, I wouldn't say during that time it was the wrong thing. It could have been correct, but that's not the point. The point is like I remember during a time where I'm gonna say public opinion, but just know it's not like the whole world. It's just like a couple of, not a couple of people, like a significant amount of people. Um, was it even significant? It was just like one or two. Anyway, um, just a couple of people were always like giving me feedback that girl, you rude. And I'm like, well, looking back, I understand why they would say that I'm rude, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to say is that I think that's one of the times where what people told me really got to me. Like it really got to me. I am not gonna lie. I would think about it day and night. I was like, what am I doing that's making people think I'm rude? I'm not rude. I'm literally the sweetest angel you can ever meet in your life. Why in heaven's name do you think I'm rude? You know? So it really got to me. And it doesn't even matter whether it was right or wrong, because there's a whole backstory to where that came from. But yeah, that's um one of the things that I had that really got to me. And then the second line says, I've made choices I regret and I've doubted your mercy. Listen, I talked about being emotional and impulsive. Yeah, there are a lot of choices I've made in my life that I so regret. I'm like, if I could go back, I wouldn't come back. You know, I thought I was coming to say if I could go back, I would change things. Like if I could go back, like all the way back, I wouldn't even come on this earth, honestly. But anyway, if I could go back, I would change it. I would really change it. There are some things that I did that I've done. I don't even know if I would ever have the courage to actually give specifics on this podcast. Oh, the day that day will come, like the time that day will come, it would be, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it right there. Anyway, yeah, so I've done some really stupid stuff in my life that I regret and have doubted God's mercy. Oh, even now, like even till now, sometimes I'm like, am I really doing the right thing when it comes to like this Christianity thing? Like, am I doing it the right way? Or am I just being delusional? But in all of that, one thing I can always say, you've been here every step of the way. During all the times that I was making the wrong decisions and being impulsive and emotional and getting feedback that would make me feel like the dirt of the earth, God was still there. And like I was saying, I was talking about, listen, if this episode is all over, it's because I don't have a script. So, and I want it to be as organic as possible. So, yeah, let's just flow with it. Okay. I was talking about the promise that I made to God about always coming back to Him. I left Him countless times. Like sometimes I would rewrite that promise in my diary in the morning, and in the evening, I've left Him. Sometimes not even in the evening, like 4 hours later, I've left Him. It's like it's not me that wrote that thing in my diary just 3 hours ago. 4 hours later or 3 hours later, I'm doing things I'm like, girl, really? So although that promise always kept me coming back to him, the thing is that when I did come back, he was still there. Oh, that's a word. That's a word. When I came back, he was still there. Like he wasn't like, oh, this girl keeps leaving. Imagine you working with somebody and they're always just drifting off. Just so they're always leaving you behind, and they come back and they still find you exactly where they left you. Like it has to take a lot of patience, it takes a lot of patience to be good. Yeah, that's it. Really does take a lot of patience to be good, but he was always there every time I came back. It doesn't matter how long I spent in my field, it doesn't matter how deep I went, it doesn't matter how far I went. Whenever I remember that promise and be like, good, I'm back. Like there is this it's not like a tangible human being standing there that you're going to him. And it's not like anything special changes, like the lightning strikes or like there's a rainbow or you get an angelic visitation. There's nothing like that. But like deep down in my heart, I just feel like yeah, this was the right thing for me to do. I don't even like feel like peace or something because sometimes consequences of the things that I've done and the guilt and the shame, it takes a while for that to wear off. It's just that there's this um feeling that yeah, this was the right thing for you to do, like this was what you were supposed to do. And that is how I know that yeah, he is here. He's like here with me in the midst of everything. Well, that's verse 1 and verse 2 of the song. We're gonna move on to the chorus. But before that, let's do epic news. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, Epic News is a segment on this podcast where I bring to you new songs that have been released in the gospel industry. And if there are any news making round, I add that too. So on today's episode, I have a couple of new songs that have been released, like 2023 fresh playlist, fresh out of the box. So we're starting with Desert Road, a single by Casting Crowns featuring Kane. I don't know why this person is called Kane though. I don't know if it's a person or a group, but why would you name yourself Kane? Anyway, moving on. We have the dove, the dove, the animal, like the dove, the dove. However way is the correct one. Yeah, that one. A single by The Belonging Co featuring Carrie Joe. And then we have Mr. Mac McClure, a single by Pastor Mike Jr. And then we have Come Alive, a single that was recorded live in Manila. It was recorded by Planet Shakers live in Manila. It's called Come Alive. And then finally we have ABBA, a single by Gateway Worship featuring Leland. So that's all I have for you for epic news. It's 2023. Gotta create a new playlist for the year, so you can listen to any of them. If you like it, just add it to your playlist. Let's get back into the substantive part of the episode. Okay, so I'm gonna read out the hook and the chorus and the hook, and then we're gonna conclude the podcast and do epic lyric, and then we're done. So the chorus says, "You don't change on me, won't give up on me. I remind my soul, you don't let go. No, you remain. Keep your hand on me. Always wanting, you want me. I remind my soul, you don't let go. No, you remain." That's the chorus. And the hook says, "You've had so many reasons to leave. Oh, my days." That hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh, my days. The many reasons like God had to leave us alone and just wipe us out, all of us. When I think about the things that I have done, and you know what's like really tragic and unfortunate about my life, I don't know about what you have done, right? But for me, I knew that is what make it very tragic. I knew you. I knew what I was doing was like. There's a difference if you have no idea that something is wrong and you do it. That's like sin. But when it comes to iniquity, which is knowing really well that this thing that you're doing is bad, but then you go ahead and do it anyway. That's me. Literally 90% of every wrong decision I've made, I knew that this decision I'm making is wrong, but I did it anyway. That should be reason enough for the earth to open up. You know, guys, if it was like Moses' time or like Noah's time, like the earth would just open up and I'll just enter and it will close back up. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. You've had so many reasons to leave, but you're still here with me. Ugh. Oh God, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. That's the hook. So they sang that twice. So you've had so many reasons to leave, but you're still here with me. Oh God, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. That's the chorus and the hook. And basically the reason why I wanted to use this song and talk about this character of God that he remains is that is the truth, first of all, that he's there. He remains with you through thick and thin, ride or die. He's the real ride or die, you know? And I just wanted to remind you this new year that you don't have to succumb to the pressure that you have to do anything extra in order to please God and get Him to be with you, you know? So, whatever that you're doing to start the new year, whether you're fasting or praying, let me put a point here, a pin here, and just say that I'm going to be doing 21 days of prayer and fasting. I have no idea how that's going to go because this is not the first time I'm going to be doing it. And it never goes well. So this year, new year. So hopefully we get it, but I'm going to be doing it with Transformation Church. So in case you're looking for like any resource to help you, do like 21 days fasting and prayers. Yeah, Transformation Church. Anyway, so whether you're fasting or you're praying or you're writing your resolutions, I want you to do it. I don't want you to do it from the perspective that I'm doing this to convince God to be with me, because God being our constant source of help is his character. That is who he is. The fact that he remains, that is literally who he is. He cannot help himself but be our constant source of help. So we don't have to do anything to get him to want to do that. He already wants to do that. Like, regardless of whatever we do to start our year, whether we do something to start our year or not, whether we write goals or not, whether we fast and pray or not, like whatever we do, that is not the thing that's going to make him change his mind and be like, oh, okay, she's writing down resolutions. So yeah, maybe I'm going to be with her just because she's no. His character is to remain. He cannot help himself. So have that assurance as you start the year that God is going to be with you regardless. You don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to do anything special. He is going to be there, right next to you in every step of the way. Whether it's high, whether it's low, whether it's flat, every step of the way, whether it's a mountain, it's a valley, or plain, every step of the way, whether it's good, it's bad, or it's normal, every step of the way, he's gonna be there. And there's nothing that you can do to convince him to remain or otherwise. So, whatever you decide to do to start your year, I want you to do it from the perspective of, I know that God, you are going to be with me regardless, but I'm fasting and praying to acknowledge you, so that it won't be like, oh, I'm just writing down goals for God to see how serious I am. Or it won't be from our works. Exactly. That's what I want to say. Thank you, Holy Spirit. It won't be from our works. Like God is God or God is with us just because of things that we do. But He's God and He's with us because that's who He is. And it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with us. But whatever we decide to do is to acknowledge God, that I acknowledge that you're with me. I'm not fasting and praying to get you to be with me. I'm fasting and praying because I'm acknowledging that you are already with me. I am inviting you into my year. I know you're there. I'm just extending the invitation and acknowledging that, yeah, I realize that you're here. I'm not going to close my eyes and pretend to be blind and pretend I don't see you and just do whatever I want and do things my own way. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually acknowledge you that you're here. And I'm going to let you know that I realize that I depend on you. Oh, this is so good. Like, I realize that I depend on you. That is the reason why I'm fasting. That is the reason why I'm praying. That is the reason why I'm writing down resolutions. And that is the reason why I'm committing this resolution into your hands. Not to convince you to do anything, but just to let you know that I realize, like, I know that I depend on you. And even more than that, thank you, Holy Spirit. Even more than that, to let myself realize that I know. Because sometimes you have to remind yourself. Because this body, this flesh, it can be so prideful. It can really, really be so prideful and think that everything that we do is just because we're so good. It can be that prideful. So even beyond like letting God know that you realize that you depend on him, it's also to tell yourself and remind yourself that this life that you're living, you're not doing it on your own. You are dependent on God. And that is the reason why we have to fast. That is the reason why we have to pray. That is the reason why we're writing that resolution. And that is the reason why we're doing anything that we're doing to start the new year. So if you don't take anything away from this podcast, the thing that I want you to remember is that God remains. He's constant. That's his character. You ain't got to do nothing to let him want to remain with you. He is there. So whatever that you're doing to start your new year, please do it from the perspective and from the revelation that you're inviting him in, you're showing your dependency on him. And so whatever that you go, like, let that stick inside your head and drop into your heart, so that whatever that you go throughout the year, you're still going to remember that he remains with you. Like, that is his character. He cannot help it. He says it in his word that he's our constant source of help. And so that's what he is. Whether you sin, you don't sin, whatever you do, he is still the constant source of help. So it's up to us to realize that and always go back to him for that help. There's nothing that we can do that's gonna let God run away from us. There's no one in our lives that's gonna leave our life and pack God and take God with them. No, that's why I really love the Lord, because I said I've seen people come and go, and I've been through a lot of changes, but God is always there. Like, there's nothing that's gonna happen in 2023 that's gonna take God with it, and then there will be like God won't be with us anymore. That's not possible. So it's just up to us to realize that and realize our dependency on Him and do whatever we do from that perspective. That's all I got to say. Let's move on to Epic Lyric. Again, if today's your first time listening to this episode, Epic Lyric is another segment on this podcast where I bring to you my favorite part of the song and the discussion. So here is the Epic Lyric for today's episode, the song being You Remain by Todd Galberth featuring Chandler Moore. Enjoy.
I have heard a lot said. Sometimes believe the wrong thing. Still, you still make room for me, and I make choices. Lord knows I did. But one thing I can always say, you've been here
guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you liked it. It's the first episode for today, and I hope like something that I said resonated with you and gave you maybe fresh perspective to do things differently, you know? Thank you so much for spending this quality time with me. Please don't forget to share and subscribe. Share it with your friends, subscribe, post it on your status. Don't forget to tag me. Um, my all of my details will be in the show notes. If you have any questions or any comments or any recommendations or any songs that you want me to talk about, just send me an email or send me a DM. Again, my details will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna come your way again with another episode. 2023, the theme is consistency and discipline. So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna come your way again with another episode. Until then, be safe, be happy, be you. Bye.